Why are children abducted and what are the outcomes? Often, child abduction and kidnapping are referred to as the same thing, although they are not. Child abduction is when the child is taken for sexual abuse, murder, or kept as their own child. Kidnapping is referred to being held hostage for a ransom or revenge on a family member. About 800,000 children are reported missing every year. About 70% of them are not actually missing. A child mistaken for being missing could have gone to a friend's house, was late from walking home, or just rode their bike around the block. About 262,000 children are abducted every year, and out of those 262,000 children, about 77% of them are abducted by a family member. Children abducted by their own parent 53% of the time return in less than 1 week. When a parent abducts their own child, 21% of the time they return over 1 month later. The non-custodial parent usually runs away with the child because they have been denied visitation for not paying child support, they are angry at the custodial parent, or they are angry with the custodial parent's new partner/lifestyle. The parent might also leave with the child because the custodial parent is abusive. The custodial parent might have also put their child up for adoption, and the non-custodial parent wants their child back, so they kidnap the child from their new parent. They could also be abducted by an aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, etc. 21% of family abductions are by a relative who is not the child's parent. The family member may abduct the child because they cannot have their own children or they feel in love with the child. They could also know their parents are abusing the child. About 21% of missing children are abducted by a person who knows the child but is not related. It could be a family friend, a parent of the child's friend, a babysitter, etc. The abductor would take the child because they cannot have their own children or they have sexual fantasies of children. They know the child trusts them, so they would easily get the child to come with them. The 2% of children remaining either ran away or were abducted by a stranger. Children run away from home because the parents might be abusive. Also, the child just might be mad at his or her parents for grounding them or taking their phone away. The child will probably go to a place where they feel safe. This could be a friend's house, a family member's house, etc. 99% of runaway children return home eventually. Only about 115 children were abducted by a stranger last year. 91% of abductors are men. Women usually only abduct because their husband is forcing them to, so his wife is his cover so the cops don't find him, or the main reason women abduct is because they cannot have their own children. A child could be abducted by a stranger for many reasons, including sexual assault, prostitution, slavery, or breeding. Also, they could be sold into adoption. Strangers who abduct kids are usually social outcasts and aren't handsome. They usually turn to children for confidence. When abducted by a stranger, the abductor might also murder or rape the child. 41% of children abducted by a stranger are murdered within 3 hours of abduction. When murdered, the child might also be sold for body parts. If someone needs a new heart, lung, or other body part and someone is offering to give that to them, they will probably pay anything for it. Children who are abducted are usually taken close to their house. 90% of the time, they are taken within a quarter mile of their house. They are also usually held at the abductor's house, which is 90% of the time within 50 miles of the child's house. Children are very rarely taken while near school because of school safety and cops catching speeders in school zones, but it is very likely that they would be taken while walking home from school. Children are taken at crowded places such as amusement parks or concerts, as well as stores such as Walmart or Target. Sometimes the child is even taken while in their house or yard. The United States has very good law enforcement and the Amber Alert system to find missing kids and prevent abductions. The United States and Puerto Rico are the only places that have an Amber Alert system. Each state's Amber Alert criteria is different, but the states can choose to adopt these requirements. Law enforcement has to have a confirmation that an abduction has taken place. The child is at risk of injury or death. They must have a very good description of the child, abductor, or abductor's vehicle, and the child has to be 17 years old or younger. The Amber Alert system has helped save the lives of 685 children. Some foreign countries don't even have laws about child abduction. Some countries do have laws about that, but they have no one to enforce those laws. In other countries, abductions are usually for prostitution or slavery. The most common in foreign countries is child trafficking, which is where a child is abducted and transported to another place. They're used as construction workers, child beggars, child soldiers in war, but the worst is sex trafficking. These children are used as prostitutes or escorts. The United States has very many laws protecting children. Murder and rape are serious felonies, but they are even worse when an abductor abducts a child. They are sentenced depending on your age and circumstances. If an abductor abducts their own child, they will probably be sentenced around 3 years. If an abductor rapes the child and is over the age of 21, they will probably be sentenced the rest of their life. Protecting children is very important. Never leave a young child by themselves in a busy place, and if they walk home, have a friend walk with them or get a carpool. Tell children to never get in the car with a stranger or help them find their missing cat or dog. Teach them how to dial 911 and yell stranger danger or help as loud as they can. If they have a social networking account, make sure it is regularly checked and tell them to never put personal information on the internet. Make sure parents are always aware of where their child is. 262,000 is a lot of children, but there is a 1 in a million chance that a child will be abducted from the ages 0 to 17. Half of child abductions end in a happy situation. When a family member abducts a child, there is a 90% chance that the child will return home safe. If a person who knows the child abducts them, there's a 60% chance they will return home safely. If a child is abducted by a stranger, there is a 40% chance they will return home safely. Depending on how old the child is and how long the child was missing, they might see a therapist. 90% of abducted children see a therapist after returning home to help them overcome those fears and bad memories.
She was a little girl with a name right out of a storybook, J.C. Lee Dugard, age 11 years old.
Hello?
A girl who loved her mom, her little sister, a cat named Monkey, and school and books and stories, and by holding on to the memory of everything she loved, survived and would triumph after a battle in a monstrous backyard, where a convicted sex offender let out of prison, Philip Garrido, and his wife Nancy, kidnapped her, handcuffed her, imprisoned her, had her give birth outside. And over again, the justice system would fail her. For 18 years, she was forbidden to say her own name, so this is how her book, A Stolen Life, begins.
Let's get one thing straight. My name is J.C. Lee Dugard. I was kidnapped by a stranger at age 11, and I want Philip Garrido to know that I no longer have to keep his secret.
JC is now 33 years old and her 2 daughters are 16 and 19. Aurelia Wilson was abducted in December 2000. She was in a foster home when she was abducted. She was missing for 3 years and they know she was murdered. They found her murderer and she went to court. She was sentenced 55 years. To this day, Aurelia's body has never been found, but they know she was murdered not long after abduction. On June 5, 2002, Elizabeth Smart was abducted from her bedroom in Salt Lake City, Utah. She was found less than a year later walking by the road with 2 people, Brian Mitchell and Wanda Barzee. They are both charged with 6 felony counts including child abduction and sexual assault, and they are both found to be mentally incompetent. Brian Mitchell was put into a mental hospital, and Wanda Barzee was put into a mental hospital until she could stand trial. Five-year-old Samantha Roonian was abducted on July 15, 2002. She was abducted outside an apartment complex while playing with a friend. Her body was found near a lake in California a day later. Alejandro Avila was found guilty for child abduction, sexual assault, and murdering Samantha. Alejandro went to court and is sentenced for her whole life. No matter what the circumstances are of a child abduction, law enforcement will try to find that child as soon as possible. Even in the worst of cases, you should never give up, and remember to tell your children to be careful of strangers.